One day, after Anthony finished bathing, he walked up to Sophia, who was playing on the bed with her iPad. Anthony wasn't wearing any clothes apart from a very thin, sheer pair of boxers that showed everything that made him a man, leaving very little to the imagination. Anthony wasn't concerned, because to him, Sophia was innocent and could not differentiate between right and wrong. "Hello, my love. How are you doing today?" Anthony smiled as he spoke. Sophia innocently dropped her iPad and curiously asked, "Daddy, what is that?" She asked, pointing towards her father's lower body. Anthony just laughed and replied, "It's a machine." "A machine?" she asked. "Yes, your father's machine. Can I play with it?" she asked curiously. "Yes, of course, my dear," he replied and allowed Sophia to play with his thing. The day Anthony welcomed Sophia into the world, his joy knew no bounds. After many years of barrenness and waiting, his prayers were finally answered. However, his happiness was bittersweet. His beloved wife had died giving birth to Sophia. In her memory, Anthony vowed to care for Sophia and ensure her happiness at all costs. Sophia was his world, the miracle child who gave him a reason to keep living despite his grief. On the day he brought her home from the hospital, Anthony summoned his domestic staff and gave a stern warning. "This is a warning to all of you. You see this child? She's my everything. Handle her with utmost care. Don't ever touch her or scold her, even if she does anything wrong. Leave her to me. I will raise her however I wish to. If I find anyone mistreating her, they will leave this house immediately." Anthony's life revolved around Sophia. He fired any staff member who failed to meet his standards of care for her. As Sophia grew older, she became deeply attached to her father. Since he worked from home to spend more time with her, Sophia hardly interacted with other children. She preferred staying close to Anthony, clinging to his leg, tugging at his shirt, and demanding his undivided attention. Anthony later remarried a woman named Chica, who became Sophia's stepmother. Chica quickly observed Sophia's unusual attachment to her father. "Anthony," she said one evening, "Sophia needs to interact with other children. You need to encourage her independence." But Anthony dismissed Chica's concerns. "She's just a child who loves her father. Let her be." As Sophia grew, Anthony's overprotectiveness only deepened. He pampered her in ways that often puzzled Chica. Despite Chica's attempts to establish boundaries, Anthony always undermined her authority, insisting that his daughter's happiness was all that mattered. As time went by, Anthony did crazy things for Sophia just to make her happy, even if it was to her detriment. "All I want is for my daughter to be happy," he would often say. One day, after Anthony finished bathing, he walked up to Sophia, who was playing on the bed with her iPad. Anthony wasn't wearing any clothes apart from a very thin, sheer pair of boxers that showed everything that made him a man, leaving very little to the imagination. Anthony wasn't concerned, because to him, Sophia was innocent and could not differentiate between right and wrong. "Hello, my love. How are you doing today?" Anthony smiled as he spoke. Sophia innocently dropped her iPad and curiously asked, "Daddy, what is that?" she asked, pointing towards her father's lower body. Anthony just laughed and replied, "It's a machine." "A machine?" she asked. "Yes, your father's machine. Can I play with it?" she asked curiously. "Yes, of course, my dear," he replied and allowed Sophia to play with his thing. One cool evening, As Anthony sat on his bed playing with his daughter, Chica walked in to take Sophia to have her bath. Immediately Sophia sighted her. She started crying and screaming. "Daddy, I don't want her to bathe me. I don't want her. She always pinches me whenever she's bathing me." Without confirming if Sophia's claims were true, Anthony shot at Chica, shouting at her angrily. "Ah, Anthony, your daughter is lying now." Chica tried to protest. "How dare you call my daughter a liar? Didn't I warn you to be careful with her? Now get out of my sight," Anthony shouted. That night, Anthony took it upon himself to bathe her every day. As the days went by, their love for each other deepened. It was more than just father and daughter love. They spent time together, did everything together, and even slept on the same bed together. However, one fateful day, as Anthony was having his shower, Sophia demanded she bathe with him. Anthony didn't think twice before opening his arms wide to welcome her, and from that day onward, it became their daily routine. They showered together and even dressed up together. In fact, they lived like husband and wife. But one thing Anthony wasn't aware of was that love, when unchecked, can lead to a disastrous end. As they continued spending time together, Sophia started acting strange. She would often point at different parts of her father's body, asking endless questions, but Anthony never saw the need to caution her. To him, his daughter was being wise and smart. One day, Anthony's mother visited him. The old woman couldn't help but notice the uncanny relationship between father and daughter. "What is this I'm seeing? You shower with your daughter? Do you know the danger of what you are doing?" "Mama, she is just a child. She doesn't even know the difference between right and wrong," Anthony replied. "You are spoiling this child. This is very wrong. Don't do what you will regret later." By the time Sophia turned 15, the innocent attachment that once seemed harmless had transformed into something disturbing. She was no longer the shy girl who hid behind her father. She had become bold, aggressive, and territorial, especially when it came to Anthony. Her school teachers complained about her attitude, particularly toward female staff. She would talk back, challenge their authority, and even fight them. "She's just a strong girl," Anthony said dismissively whenever a report of Sophia's bad behavior was brought to his attention. However, this was only the beginning of more trouble. Sophia had developed the habit of following Anthony wherever he went. When he visited the supermarket or attended private meetings, Sophia insisted on accompanying him, looking sternly at anyone who dared to speak too long with him. One afternoon, the family's neighbor, Miss Angela, made a casual remark that turned into a nightmare. "Ah, Anthony, still as handsome as I've always known you to be," Miss Angela said cheerfully. Sophia, who had been standing nearby, froze. Her expression darkened, and before anyone could react, she lunged at Miss Angela, shoving her against the wall. "Don't ever talk to him like that again," she shouted. Anthony immediately rushed out and pulled Sophia away. "What is wrong with you?" he yelled. Sophia said nothing, clenching her fists in anger. That night, Chica sat Anthony down. "Anthony, can you see it now? This girl is not acting like a daughter. She's acting like a woman fighting for her husband. She's just protective of me." "It's not as serious as you are making it," Anthony replied. "It is serious," Chica snapped, getting up angrily. "She needs discipline, and you need to stop coddling her." But Anthony didn't listen. Instead, He only deepened the bond between himself and Sophia. When she started bringing him flowers and calling him her king, he laughed and praised her for being sweet. Chica wasn't pleased with everything going on between Anthony and Sophia. She was helpless in the situation because her advice fell on deaf ears. She thought of what she could do to remedy the situation, but no idea came to mind. However, one day she decided that enough was enough. This is getting out of hand. I'm not against Sophia being close to Anthony, and I'm certainly not jealous of their relationship. I'm very sure of that. But what I don't understand is their extreme love for each other. How can a father and daughter be kissing each other in a wrong way and even showering together at this age? No, this has to stop. That day, Chica placed stricter rules for Sophia, forbidding her from following Anthony everywhere and demanding she spend more time with her peers. But every time Chica tried to enforce a rule, Anthony would intervene, undoing her efforts. Her warnings fell on deaf ears, and Anthony's blind devotion to Sophia left her stranded. One afternoon, Anthony found himself alone in the living room reading a newspaper. Sophia walked in with a notebook clutched to her chest. Her movements were suspicious, as though she was hiding something. She immediately slipped the book into her school bag. "Sophia, what is that?" Anthony asked casually. "Nothing, Dad," she said. "Just school stuff." Anthony suspected something fishy but let it slide. However, one fateful evening, while going through Sophia's room, his hand brushed against the edge of her notebook. He hesitated for a while, but his curiosity got the better of him. As he opened the book, he saw what he never imagined. The notebook was filled with disturbing and obsessive words about him. "My king," one page read in bold letters. "No one can take him from me. I'll live my stepmother one day so I can spend the rest of my life with my king." Anthony's hand trembled as he read the letters. He quickly closed the book and convinced himself that Sophia's love for him was so immense. Even as doubt crept into his heart, he clung to the things he had always believed in. A father's love could never truly harm his child. But deep down, a whisper of fear told him he was wrong, very wrong. However, things took a drastic turn for the worse one fateful evening. That day, Anthony was in the living room having his dinner. Sophia sat at the dining table silently, flipping through a book. She was unusually silent and dull. She didn't speak much but stared at her father uncontrollably. "Sophia, are you okay?" Anthony asked. She looked up at her father with so much admiration in her eyes. "Dad," she said with a soft voice. "What is it?" he asked, wiping his hands on the towel and sitting beside her for a moment. Sophia said nothing, then blurted out, "I need to tell you something, Dad. Something I have been hiding from you for a very long time." Anthony's heart skipped a beat. "Go on," he said. "I love you, Dad. I mean, I truly love you." Anthony froze. His breath caught in his chest. "Of course you love me," he said with a laugh. "I'm your father." Sophia shook her head violently. "No, Dad. It's not like that. It's more. You are the only man I have ever loved, Dad. I don't need anyone else." Anthony's heart started beating fast. He didn't want to believe what his ears heard. He stood up quickly, his body shaking. "Sophia, what are you saying?" Before he could step away, Sophia grabbed his arm. "You don't understand. We are meant to be together. You are mine. Let go of me." Anthony shouted, Why are you acting like this? Dad, I see how you look at me. I know you feel it too. Anthony managed to break free as he stumbled backward. His mind raced as he recalled the notebook he found days earlier. He had hoped the disturbing writings were just a fleeting obsession. But now, as he stared into his daughter's eyes, he realized the truth was far worse. He quickly grabbed his phone and dialed Chica's number. "Come home now," he shouted. "It's Sophia. Something is wrong." Sophia's demeanor changed immediately. She slammed her fist on the table with anger. "Why are you calling her? She doesn't understand us. She's always trying to take you away from me." Anthony tried to back away, but Sophia blocked his path. Minutes later, Chica came running through the door. "What's going on here?" Before Anthony could explain, Sophia lunged at Chica, shouting, "He doesn't need you. He's mine." After minutes of struggling, Chica managed to subdue her. Anthony stood frozen, with tears streaming down his face as the weight of his mistakes crushed him. In that moment, he realized that his blind love had nurtured something dark, something he could no longer control. After the incident, Chica couldn't hold back any longer. She blamed Anthony for everything. "This is your fault. I warned you over and over again, but you refused to listen. Now look at what you have done to her. Look at what you have done to us." Anthony, who was already filled with guilt and shame, sat quietly on the edge of the couch. He couldn't bring himself to meet her gaze. Deep down, he knew he was wrong, but admitting it felt like a knife twisting in his chest. The next day, Anthony called his mother and explained everything to her. Mama Anthony arrived the next day and suggested taking Sophia to a pastor for deliverance. While this was a good idea, it wasn't entirely the best option. Chica kicked against the idea and advised that Sophia be taken for therapy. But Mama Anthony insisted on taking her to the church. The moment Pastor Nathaniel sighted Sophia, he began to prophesy. "This child is cursed. She was cursed by her spiritual mother. She needs deliverance. She needs to be set free. Deposit the sum of 500,000 naira now or face the consequences." Without hesitation, Anthony wasted no time transferring the money to the account displayed on the wall. Pastor Nathaniel began singing and calling the spirits from the water, fire, and earth to deliver Sophia. But Sophia stood firm, with anger boiling inside her. Before anyone knew what was happening, she grabbed Pastor Nathaniel and tore his pristine robe. Immediately, security was called, and Sophia was taken out of the church. After that encounter, Anthony and his mother took Sophia to different pastors in the city, but it was to no avail. Instead, Sophia became worse. She moved her belongings into her father's room and insisted on staying there. "My daughter, why are you behaving like this? I'm your father. You cannot have me. Don't you understand? It's an abomination. Dad, if I don't have you, then no one will. The more you keep taking me to those churches, the more my hatred for you increases. Don't make me hate you, Dad." Sophia spoke angrily and walked out on her father. Anthony was speechless. He couldn't believe that his actions had turned his daughter into a beast. "If I had known, I wouldn't have exposed my body to her. I wouldn't have showered with her or even undressed in front of her. I should have drawn the lines. I felt I was doing her good. Please save my daughter. Don't let her go astray." That night, he couldn't sleep. His mind raced with thoughts of how to distance himself from Sophia. He thought of sending her to a boarding school, but knew she would oppose the idea. One night, things escalated even further when Sophia tried to force herself on Anthony. He screamed and ran out of the house. Luckily for him, Chica had just arrived home. She immediately called the police that night, and Sophia was locked up in a cell. Even though Anthony was aware that Sophia's actions were insane, he felt guilty watching his only daughter sleep in the police cell. He stayed up all night reflecting on his mistakes. He wished he could turn back the hands of time, but it was too late. The next day, without informing Chica, he went to the police station and bailed his daughter out. The moment Sophia stepped out, Anthony's heart shattered into pieces. "My daughter, I'm sorry for everything. It is all my fault. I should have raised you better. I shouldn't have allowed you to sleep in this unhealthy environment. Please find a place in your heart to forgive me," Anthony pleaded. "Dad, it's enough. I still love you despite what happened. But it's unfortunate that you don't feel the same way for me. But it's fine. I will learn to live like this. Let's go home, Dad." The drive home was emotional and full of silence. Sophia sat in the back seat, thinking of what next to do. "I think I should push harder. I won't back down," she said to herself. When they pulled into the driveway, Sophia stepped out of the car and looked up at the house she once called home. It no longer felt like one. It was a cage, just like the prison she had left behind. But this time, she wasn't the only one trapped. Anthony and Chica would feel her pain soon enough. Immediately she entered inside, Sophia summoned her parents. "Dad, Mom, I'm just here to apologize for everything I did. It just dawned on me that I was wrong, so wrong. How could I think of having an affair with my own father? It is not done anywhere. Please find a place in your heart to forgive me." Anthony's eyes welled up, and he rushed forward to hug her. "Oh, my daughter, God has heard my prayers. I knew you would change." Sophia flinched a bit but returned the embrace, forcing a small smile on her face. "You will see, Sophia, everything will be fine," Anthony said. However, behind the facade of repentance were devilish plans cooking up. That night, Sophia lay on her bed, tossing and turning. The picture of how the police dragged her away kept replaying in her mind. "They will pay. They will surely pay for everything," she whispered to herself. The first step of her plan had already begun, and her parents didn't even know. Sophia woke up the next morning, putting on the character of a perfect daughter, trying to make amends. She swept the front yard, greeted her neighbors politely, and even helped Chica in the kitchen. Her once rebellious character was now replaced with a calm, obedient facade. She offered to attend therapy sessions and came home with stories about how much she was learning to control her anger. "Therapy is really helping me, Dad," Sophia said one evening as she sat at the dining table for dinner. "I didn't realize how much I needed to take responsibility for my actions." Anthony's heart swelled with pride. "My daughter, I knew this day would come. I knew you were still the good girl I raised." Sophia faked a smile and continued what she was doing. Chica, however, wasn't moved by Sophia's sudden repentance. She watched her carefully, noting the precision in her actions and the calculated way she spoke. "People don't change overnight," Chica muttered to herself. She had seen too much in life to trust Sophia's sudden transformation. One Saturday morning, Sophia volunteered to wash Chica's car, something she had never done before. "Let me help you," she said with a sponge in her hand. Chica nodded but kept a close eye on her. "Why now?" she finally asked. "Why all this effort to be different?" Sophia paused, then turned to face her with a calm expression. "Because I want to fix what I have broken," she said. But as she spoke, a flashback surged in her mind. She thought of the good times she spent with her father, how they showered together and did everything together. She also thought about how Chica did everything in her power to separate them. The memory burned like a fresh wound, feeding the hatred in her heart. Chica squinted at Sophia, unconvinced. "Well, we will see," she said, walking back into the house. The next day, Sophia drove her car to meet Sandra, her therapist. Sophia had been visiting Sandra for over a month now. However, the therapy Sophia received wasn't something that would better her life. They were teachings on how to get back at her parents. Sophia crossed paths with Sandra one cool evening when she went out to get some fresh air. As she strolled through a local street around her vicinity, she met a group of girls drinking and smoking. She decided to stop and greet them. She was very bold and didn't mind that they might hurt her. "Good evening, Ma," she greeted. Sandra looked at her from head to toe and wondered what this small girl was doing in their midst. "Come, where did you buy your audacity from?" "Because I want to purchase one." Sophia couldn't comprehend what Sandra said and quickly went on her knees, begging her to take her as their member. She cried bitterly and explained her predicament to Sandra. After much persuasion, Sandra accepted her into the group. However, Sandra had a plan. She only wanted to use Sophia the way she liked until she was ready to dispose of her. "It's okay. Stand up. You are now one of us. But you must pay the registration fee. Our membership is 500,000 naira." To Sophia, 500k was chicken change, so she quickly transferred the money without thinking twice. "Sharp girl," Sandra hailed her as she received the alert. From that day onward, Sophia kept visiting the gang. She would lie to her parents that she was going for therapy sessions, but she was going elsewhere. She followed the gang to pickpockets in the area and engaged in several other dubious activities. Within a month of hanging out with the gang, Sophia developed a tough personality, which was all she needed to get back at her parents. She had planned what she wanted to do and was only waiting for the right time to strike. Sophia made life unbearable for her parents, especially her father. She teamed up with her gang members and robbed him on his way back from the supermarket. They collected a huge sum of money after beating him mercilessly. Anthony returned home that day with bruises all over his body. When Sophia came back, she acted surprised and quickly rushed her father to a nearby hospital. She paid for everything and ensured he was taken good care of. But deep down, Sophia felt a wave of satisfaction running through her body. "This is just the tip of the iceberg," she whispered to herself. The next target was her stepmother, but she decided to take things slowly. Things took a drastic turn for the worse the day Sophia teamed up with her gang members to give Anthony a special Valentine's gift. Sophia waited that day to be sure Chica had gone to work. Then she went into the kitchen and prepared breakfast for her father. "Dad, please stand up and eat. I have brought breakfast for you," she said. Anthony, who was still weak due to the last incident, managed to stand up. "Thank you, my daughter. You are so sweet." Sophia watched her father consume the meal she had laced with sleeping and intimacy tablets with so much excitement. Within minutes, Anthony fell asleep as though he was struck by a spell. Sophia quickly notified her gang members, and they arrived immediately. That day, each one of them entered Anthony's room while Sophia stood by the corner, recording the scene. Anthony, who was unconscious, didn't even notice what was going on. After they were done, Sophia forwarded the video to Chica using a fake number. Immediately Chica saw the video. She rushed back home with so much anger in her. "So, this is what you do with other women when I'm not around?" Chica shouted at Anthony, who had just regained consciousness. He looked at Chica with confusion. "I don't understand what you are talking about. What have I done this time? Don't ask me silly questions. Do I look like I'm joking? Please just let me be. I don't understand what you are saying," Anthony said. Chica brought out her phone and played the video to Anthony. Anthony was shocked and terrified to watch himself being mishandled by a group of girls. "Why are you saying nothing?" Chica screamed. "Chica, this is a setup. It's impossible. I can't do such a thing." No matter the explanation Anthony gave, Chica refused to listen. That night, she slept at her friend's house. Anthony tried to recall everything that happened that day, but he couldn't remember. The only thing that came to his mind was the meal that Sophia served him. However, Sophia was only beginning to deal with her parents. She had more sinister plans in store for them. She had finally concluded what she intended to do with Chica, but before that, she had one last thing to do to her father. Sophia took it upon herself to take care of him after the incident. "Dad, I know it's not your fault. I don't blame you for anything that happened. I know you were innocent. But maybe you should try not to cross my path next time." "What do you mean by that?" Anthony asked curiously. "You heard me right, Dad. Don't cross my path, or something worse might happen to you." It was then it dawned on Anthony that Sophia was behind it all. "Sophia, so you are behind this?" Anthony said with tears streaming down his face. "Yes, Dad, I'm behind it all. I was also involved when you were attacked on your way back from the supermarket. Do you think I will forgive you? Never. You don't know how heartbroken I was when you chose Chica over me. You sat down and watched me sleep in a cell. But I thought you had changed. I thought you forgave me. It was all part of my game, Dad," Sophia said. "The meal you are consuming will be your very last. You will suffer the way I did." Anthony, who was already terrified, quickly dialed Chica's number, begging her to come back home. Sophia didn't stop him because it was all part of her plans. Before Anthony knew what was happening, he started experiencing severe stomach pain. It was so painful that he started screaming and shouting for help. Sophia quickly pinned him to the bed and took advantage of him forcefully. Anthony screamed, but no one came to his rescue. After 5 minutes, Anthony gave up the ghost. After Sophia noticed her father had passed away, she quickly came down from his body. She had accomplished her first mission. However, she waited patiently for Chica to arrive. When Chica came home and saw the scene, she quickly called the police. But before she could finish explaining, Sophia grabbed her and gave her the beating of her life. After that, she released fire on her and Unalived, her stepmother. Sophia quickly covered their dead bodies and escaped before the police arrived. However, as she was running to her gang members, a moving trailer lost control and knocked her down. On the spot, Sophia passed away. This story teaches us that unchecked love and lack of boundaries can lead to destructive consequences. While a father's love for his child is natural, failing to establish clear limits can foster dependency, confusion, and harmful behavior. Furthermore, the story warns against ignoring signs of troubling behavior and dismissing advice from loved ones, as this can cause issues and lead to irreversible damages. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.